We are kicking off with Roman Reigns, who right now is a chief without a tribe, as he appeared at SummerSlam on his own, and this was the case with last week's Smackdown as well. Unfortunately, WWE has now spoiled plans for Reigns, as in a gallery of behind-the-scenes photos from SummerSlam, Reigns can be seen walking backstage with Paul Heyman. Like Jimmy Uso, the WWE Hall of Famer is a victim of the new Bloodline, and while it seems a foregone conclusion that Heyman and Reigns will reunite, that could still be weeks away. It made sense for Heyman not to be factored in at SummerSlam since Reigns was heading out to the ring for a surprise attack, and he didn't need the wise man to be present. As for when Heyman will appear on TV with his tribal chief, time will tell, and while WWE had deleted the image in question, fans are already well aware of what is the plan. With Solo Sikoa having Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu, Reigns will need some backup of his own, and could we see a reunion of the original Bloodline? Sitting down with Sports Illustrated, Jey Uso had some harsh words for Solo Sikoa and discussed the potential of Jimmy's return as part of this angle. He said, "Solo needs his whooped. There's no doubt about that, and people are gonna love Jimmy. He's the funniest guy I know, so much funnier than me. You've seen glimpses of what he can do on his own. Wait until you see his greatness. He's up next." One of Solo's first acts as tribal chief was for Jimmy Uso to be exiled from the Bloodline, and fans have not seen or heard from the former tag team champion since that attack. With that said, it may be far trickier for Reigns to recruit Jey Uso in his war with the new Bloodline, considering the issues between the pair that unfolded in 2023. We don't know for certain what's next for Roman Reigns, but we do know that he is still a massive draw, as his return has gained over 125 million views on social media in its first week. This figure doesn't include live streams or content from any channels besides WWE, so the number of total views his return has garnered is likely much more. Reigns is focused on retaking his place as the tribal chief and may need some help in that. And do you think the Usos could reunite and reunite with Roman? Give your thoughts down below. At SummerSlam, the Judgment Day as we knew it imploded when Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest were betrayed, and their exit from the group was confirmed on last week's Raw. That show went off the air with the Terror Twins trying to hold their own against the faction they were once part of, and that could be the case again later this month. Corey Hayes of Pro Wrestling Nexus took to Twitter to share that a mixed tag match is being planned pitting Ripley and Priest against Dominik Mysterio and Liv Morgan. This would be a logical follow-up to what transpired at SummerSlam, though it should be emphasized that this has yet to be confirmed by WWE. There's also the chance that plans could always change even if Hayes' report is correct, but with 3 Raws before Germany's first PLE, there's ample time to build this feud. But what do you think? Are you interested in a mixed tag team match at Bash in Berlin later this month? Let us know down in the comments. Dominik Mysterio aligning with Liv Morgan at SummerSlam came after months of Liv trying to woo Dirty Dom, and the angle has proven to be a huge talking point among fans. It's not just audiences who have been talking, as PW Insider reports that WWE officials have been very pleased with the chemistry between Liv and Dominik thus far. The duo received high marks for their interactions, and officials were impressed with how well their partnership has worked on screen. In a dark match following last week's Smackdown, Morgan and Mysterio teamed and leaned into their on-screen romance, developing the connection between the two superstars. As for the endgame of this angle, it could unfold in various ways, but for now, it'll be fascinating to see how Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley try to get revenge on the new Judgment Day. But what are your thoughts on the Morgan-Mysterio pairing so far? What do you think the ultimate outcome will be? Share your opinions down below. Last week, it was reported that Bobby Lashley's contract with WWE was expiring this past weekend, and if so, that means the Almighty is now a free agent. There's plenty of questions as to what Lashley's future in wrestling will look like, but right now, the former WWE champion is looking at competing in a different kind of ring. During an appearance on the Laboratory podcast, Lashley addressed his future and is ready to do things outside the world of professional wrestling. He said, "I love to be able to push myself to do things that are ridiculous. I set goals for myself every day. What can I do? How far can I push myself? How much can I do? I want to run a marathon. I'm going to try to do that pretty soon. I'll do jiu-jitsu. I'm going to try and win a world championship in jiu-jitsu. I'm going to do a boxing match. We've already talked about this boxing match. I might have an opportunity to do it. I'm boxing somebody in Vegas. There is an opponent. Lashley is clearly passionate about pushing his limits, as one does not run a marathon, become a world champion in Jiu-Jitsu Kaisen, or compete in boxing without doing exactly that. As for Lashley's wrestling future, it's been reported that his name has come up within AEW and that the Almighty is also gaining interest in Japan. But what's your view on Bobby Lashley set to compete in a boxing match this year? Do you believe he'll win the match? Sound off in the comments section below. We've got news from RevPro Wrestling, as it's been confirmed that MJF would be defending the American title against Michael Oku at their Summer Sizzle event on August 11th. At last night's show in York Hall in Bethnal Green, London, Oku put up a determined effort, but it was ultimately MJF who got the win and retained his title. After the match, MJF set his sights on RevPro's Amira Blair, who manages Oku, and appeared poised to hit the Tiger Driver, but was interrupted by Will Ospreay. In his return to RevPro, Ospreay drove MJF away from the ring and saved Amira, and stated that he needed the crowd to remind him of his abilities and wants that reminder at All In. Ospreay said he'll do whatever it takes to defeat MJF for the American title at All In, and could that include using the Tiger Driver move he previously removed from his arsenal? We'll have to wait and see whether Will Ospreay will be able to triumph over MJF at All In and reclaim the title that he lost in controversial fashion at Dynamite 250. Fans feel Ospreay will genuinely be able to beat the salt of the earth this time around, especially after Ospreay ran MJF off, and we'll have to wait and see what happens in Wembley. On last week's Raw, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods fell victim to an attack by the Final Testament, but it was the debuting Odyssey Jones who made the save for the duo. This was by far Jones' biggest showcase since arriving in WWE, and has had fans excited for his next move, and Jones has been confirmed for tonight's edition of the Red Brand. But what does WWE have planned? Well, according to sources within the company, multiple ideas are being floated around, as creative want to be careful to follow up on Jones' debut. One idea is for Jones to officially join the New Day, making the group a trio once more in the process. The New Day sadly hasn't been the same since Big E's unfortunate injury, and while Jones wouldn't ever be able to truly fill E's role, bringing him into the group wouldn't be a bad move. It would give the New Day something truly fresh to do, and at the same time, give Jones a significant rub, as Kofi and Woods have plenty of goodwill with fans. Another idea being shopped backstage is for the big man, Jones, to do something truly shocking and betray the New Day, if not tomorrow, but going forward. Whatever happens tonight, WWE wants to get Jones' push on Raw just right, as the company is fully committed to the 30-year-old after last week's impactful arrival. What direction do you think WWE should go in with Odyssey Jones, or do you have an even better idea in mind? If so, we want to read all about it in the comments. More from SummerSlam, where Nia Jax won the WWE Women's Championship, and despite being promoted for the following Smackdown, neither she nor Bayley appeared on the show. Instead, Tiffany Stratton planned a women's title celebration for the 2024 Queen of the Ring, and it was strange that neither the new or former champion were used after the PLE. Nevertheless, Stratton's segment confirmed that the stage was being set for something big this Friday, and what will happen when the new women's champion returns to the blue brand. Will Bayley appear and crash Jax's big moment and ask for a rematch, or could something different be in the cards for the new champion? While the role model should receive a rematch, especially given the false cash-in controversy at SummerSlam, that might not happen, and she may not return right away. After all, having Bayley regain the title just a few weeks after losing it wouldn't make anyone look good, and her hiatus would allow Jax to battle a new opponent or a returning star. The obvious challengers would be Bianca Belair or Jade Cargill, but Belair was in the title picture until earlier this year, and since then, she's been used in the women's tag title division. Right now, Belair and Cargill are feuding with women's tag team champions Alba Fire and Isla Dawn in a program that has also kept Naomi and Blair Davenport occupied. With so many women already involved in angles, WWE may turn to a returning Charlotte Flair as Jax's first title feud, as the Queen has been out of action since December of last year. If history has taught us one thing, it's that WWE can't figure out what to do with Flair outside of title programs, and she always pops up when a champion is crowned or one has a celebration. This was the case with Asuka at the spring of 2023, and Ronda Rousey at the end of 2022, and Flair returning would be fine in theory as long as she doesn't immediately win the title. Fans would also cheer for her over Nia Jax, a statement that may not be the case if Jax returns to face another woman on the SmackDown roster. We've also got to factor in the role of Tiffany Stratton and how she could play into things, as she still has the Money in the Bank contract and is therefore Jax's arguable biggest threat. But what do you think? Are you hoping for Jax versus Flair, or should Stratton turn on her friend and win the WWE Women's title? Sound off in the comments section. During WWE's recent tour of Japan, AJ Styles competed in the country mere days after wrestling at Noah's Destination event, and Styles is no stranger to the land of the rising sun. Styles was a megastar in the country during his run in New Japan, but it appears that fans in the country have seen the last of the phenomenal one in the ring. During a WWE YouTube video about the tour, Styles recalled wearing a mask for his entrances in Japan and recalled that he always wears one in Japan due to a tradition from his New Japan days. Styles then said that the mask he wore this time could be the last one you see on him, suggesting that he's wrestled in Japan for the last time. Styles has spoken about his career and is aware his time in the ring is winding down, and now the former world champion has seemingly said goodbye to the country he once dominated in. It's no secret that Tony Khan is a busy man, as in addition to running AEW and Ring of Honor, he also operates the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Fulham FC soccer team. Over the years, many have argued that Khan's schedule has often led to his wrestling responsibilities taking a back seat, and that somebody else needs to be put in charge. While speaking on the Paving the Way podcast, Medusa gave her 2 cents when discussing the infamous Brawl Out 2022 incident concerning CM Punk and the Elite. The wrestling legend questioned why Khan allowed Punk to belittle the Elite during the media scrum and added that she would have never let it happen in the first place. Medusa talked about the dynamics of having active wrestlers in executive roles, noting that there is a significant difference between Vince McMahon and Tony Khan. She claimed that when McMahon enters a room, he commands respect and authority, and his strong leadership and decisive decisions were crucial to WWE's success. Contrast that with Khan, whose presence, Medusa claims, is met with a casual response and who has numerous people advising him, which might affect his decision-making skills. Medusa suggested that Tony Khan would benefit from isolating himself from the day-to-day advice and allowing others to handle their responsibilities while he retains the final authority. She also commented on whether it's wise to have active wrestlers in executive roles at AEW, comparing it to the involvement of figures like Vince McMahon, Pat Patterson, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker. While they had roles in the business, the board has traditionally been composed of family members, and spoke of Triple H having a position of power following his marriage to Stephanie. Medusa emphasized that AEW's situation would not be the same, but there's always a risk when you put an active wrestler in a role where they could potentially influence their own booking. Right now, AEW is building towards its biggest annual event, All In, but once more, backstage drama, such as the MJF Britt Baker situation, threatens to overshadow matters. With such issues worryingly common in AEW, Khan has had to spend plenty of time dealing with backstage matters, which of course means less time to focus on the storylines. But what do you make of Medusa's comments? Do you think Khan should let others handle the day-to-day matters, leaving him time to focus on the bigger picture? Let us know below. Last week, the wrestling world lost Kevin Sullivan, who worked for decades as a wrestler and in behind-the-scenes roles, and his passing led to an outburst of tributes to the Taskmaster. It's not just the wrestling world that's paid tribute to Sullivan, as at a Boston Red Sox game, a digital message read, "In memorial of Kevin Sullivan. You will be missed. Love, Red Sox Nation." Sullivan suffered a severe accident during an autograph signing in May in Florida, which led to emergency surgery that saved his leg and life, though there were complications afterwards. Medical issues and financial strain followed Sullivan after his injury, and we're continuing to send our very best to his friends and family at this difficult time. Bloodline news now, as Zilla Fatu hasn't made his way onto WWE TV yet, though did recently attend SummerSlam, an act that resulted in him no-showing a planned appearance. It appears this act hasn't harmed Zilla's standing in wrestling though, as at the latest Reality of Wrestling show, Summer of Champions 10, he captured the Reality of Wrestling Championship. This is a major accolade for the son of Umaga, who could soon be working with WWE names, as it's been confirmed that NXT Level Up talent will now be part of ROW shows going forward. On Twitter, ROW owner Booker T congratulated Fatu on the win and shared that Summer of Champions set an all-time attendance record for the Walker, Texas Lawyer Arena. This isn't Zilla's first title in his relatively young career, as he's also the House of Glory Crown Jewel champion after winning the gold last month. It remains to be seen what the future looks like for the double champion, but one has to think WWE is keeping a close eye on Fatu, especially after his latest title win. At AEW All In, a casino gauntlet match will determine a #1 contender for the AEW World Championship, giving plenty of wrestlers the chance to compete in Wembley. This will be the third casino gauntlet match, and the two previous ones have received positive reactions, and fans can expect a star-studded contest in London. Fightful Select reports that AEW is looking to stack up the match with major names, though it's unclear who the All Elite promotion has in mind so far. It's possible that this match could see some returns, as several notable names are currently on the shelf, including Kenny Omega, Jay White, and Adam Cole. This match will be a huge opportunity for the AEW roster, and who do you expect to see in the match, and who do you think will be leaving Wembley with a guaranteed title opportunity? In AEW, Adam Cole has established himself as one of the meanest heels, a somewhat ironic role given that the Undisputed Kingdom leader has a massively loyal fan base online. In addition to wrestling, Cole streams on Twitch as The Chugs, and has done so since 2020, and has often spoken about how much his gaming channel and his viewers mean to him. During a recent Twitch stream, Cole had to pause things after receiving a heartfelt message from a fan after they gifted him 200,000 Twitch bits, worth $2,000 in the form of Tier 1 subscriptions to dozens of others in the community. Cole struggled to read the message without getting emotional, as he said, "You have touched all of our lives in such a wonderful way." Cole gets emotional. "Where there's negativity, you are positive. Where there are, here you go, Chugs, you got this, dude, you got this. Where there are tears, you bring us smiles. Where there is anger, you bring us understanding. Where there's hate, you bring us love. There's no one on earth like you, Chugs. It's impossible to put into words how special you are. You have no idea how much you mean to me and all of us." An emotional Cole expressed his love for the fan and said there's no way to put his gratitude into words, as these words come at a difficult time in his professional wrestling career. The former NXT champion has been out of action since October 2023 with an ankle injury, and his most recent match was at All Out 2023, where he and MJF retained the ROH World Tag Team titles. The pair retained against the Dark Order, but since then, plenty has changed, including Cole turning heel on MJF, who himself recently turned heel once more in AEW. Whatever the future holds, Cole will always have his loyal fan base on Twitch, and what do you make of this emotional moment during his recent stream? Let us know below. At AEW All In, Bryan Danielson will compete in one of the biggest matches of his career when he challenges world champion Swerve Strickland in a title versus career match. For Danielson, this match comes just over a decade after his WWE World title reign ended due to injuries, and unfortunately, history could be about to repeat itself. Speaking to Jim Ross on the latest Collision, Danielson addressed his future and said there is a very good chance he will have to undergo neck surgery before the end of this year. That would almost certainly bring an end to his title reign should Bryan win the AEW World title in Wembley, and it has led many to believe that Danielson will lose later this month. We'll have to wait and see what unfolds at AEW All In. All signs suggest that Bryan Danielson might be concluding his in-ring career at Wembley Stadium in just a matter of days. Only time will reveal the outcome, but his body has undoubtedly endured considerable damage from years of entertaining fans worldwide, so no one could blame him for hanging up his boots. What's your take on Bryan Danielson wrapping up his pro wrestling career? Do you think that he'll ever really retire from in-ring competition? Let us know what you think in the comments. During his years with WWE, Bryan Danielson became a Grand Slam champion and one of the company's most popular superstars, and to many is worthy of the WWE Hall of Fame. Of course, any plans for an induction took a detour in 2021 when Bryan left to join AEW, and does he think a Hall of Fame induction will still happen? On the Gorilla Position podcast, Danielson was asked about a possible induction and said he loves being in AEW and that he has no interest in a Hall of Fame ring or similar accolades. "I love where I am now. I'm also not under contract, so realistically, I just want to be free. As for a Hall of Fame ring or other accolades, I have no interest in those. None whatsoever." Danielson may not be going into the WWE Hall of Fame just yet, but we know to never say never in wrestling, as plenty of names who were gone from WWE for years have been inducted. Do you believe Bryan Danielson will eventually get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, or will his AEW run keep him away for good? Let us know in the comments section below. We've got AEW Collision news now, as Hikaru Shida picked up a dominant victory last weekend, but some fans may have found her opponent somewhat familiar. Shida's opponent was none other than NXT UK alum Aaliyah James, who was part of the defunct promotion for years before it ended in September 2022. We'll have to wait and see if James gets another opportunity in AEW, and while she lost, sharing the ring with a former Women's World Champion is a promising start for the ex-superstar. And we're ending with Bash in Berlin, as anticipation is growing for WWE's first PLE in Germany, an event that would have seemed impossible just a few years ago. Since 2022, though, WWE has been more open to international PLEs outside North America, but Bash in Berlin may not have happened without two superstars in particular. Speaking with CBS Sports, World Heavyweight Champion Gunther opened up about the event and the work he and Ludwig Kaiser have done to raise Germany's status in wrestling. When Kaiser and I were in WXW, we were trying to commit to that and set everything else in life aside to make that big and get it going. We ran 60 or 70 shows a month. After every show, the big speech was that we worked so hard professional wrestling in Germany would become accessible again, and to make a scene that people could enjoy and reliably be entertained. I'm obviously not the only reason this event is happening, but I want to claim that my being in WWE right now is a factor for why they wanted to do a PLE there. I think it's a very nice accomplishment. Gunther added that a lot changed after WWE opened itself up for the independent circuit, and after a long journey to reach this point in his career, he's ready to enjoy all of it.